Hello, stamping friends. This is Jenny, and I'm joining you today on the Global Inspiration page. And I'm doing a little sound check here, so we'll make sure that it's working. For some reason, I had my volume turned off on my phone, and I couldn't figure out why. It was just having a little memory lapse, I guess. So I have spent the morning watching the videos and catching up on the ones from yesterday because we were out and about and missing everything. And they've been great. I've learned so many fun new tips or been reminded of tips. So I hope you've been reminded of some things too also. So I'm going to do a card, and then my tool for today is punches. So I'm going to give you some reminders and maybe some new ideas for how you can use punches after we make our card. And the stamp set I'm using is called Aspen Grove. And of course, I live in Colorado, so of course I had to have this one. This is just a standalone. You can add your own sentiments. It doesn't have dies. It's a simple stamp set. And I struggle with those, but I have loved making cards with these because, I think we're also used to having the dies and the punches and all the many pieces, and then when you get something simple, you don't know what to do. But we're going to figure that out today. So I'm going to show you a simple card and a couple of alternatives, and I'll give you some tips along the way. So the first thing is, in my mind, I thought that this was one big stamp, but it's not, which makes it even better. It is 5 stamps. So you can move them around, you can put them closer together, farther apart, whatever makes you happy. Actually, this one needs to move over a little bit. Or you can have, 3 tree trunks, 2 tree, so many choices of how you can configure this stamp. So I was, I guess, pleasantly surprised that it made it so versatile. I'm having trouble getting that where I think it should go. There we go. So you can have them close together, farther apart, change the number that you want. And then it has a small bunch of leaves, group of leaves, 2 larger, no, 1 larger, 2 larger. And I also thought you could, not only could you have your leaves falling at the tree at the top, you can also stamp at the bottom so that you have leaves that have fallen on the ground. So you have all those choices. You just have to play with it. A couple extra branches if you feel like your trees need branches. Well, I looked, of course, I said I wanted to use this stamp set, and then I thought, well, what do aspens look like? So I went on Pinterest and just Googled or searched for pictures of aspens. And so this was my inspiration to see, because I knew I wanted it to look fallish. And because it's not really that it's fall, but I just wanted those colors because I wanted this to be a sympathy card. Change the colors, you can change the leaf colors, whatever, change the sentiment, and you've got a totally different card. So we're going to use these colors as our inspiration. And let's see, I've got some measurements here, but I'll remind you, if you want the measurements to have for yourself, you're going to want to place an order with your demonstrator so that you'll get the inspiration sheet with all the products that we use and the measurements. And I also thought, you know, you've probably realized that Facebook takes down videos after 30 days. So if you want to be able to watch these videos a second or a third time, or fast forward or whatever, you'll want to place an order so that you can get the YouTube links. So there's benefits to that. So this is going to be our main image, and it is 5 by 3 3/4. Now this is a huge block, and it's heavy, so I like to ink using my ink to the stamp. Now Maureen said she likes the other way, and I do like the other way. It's just that this block is heavy, and I struggle with that. So it's also photopolymer, so I need my little mat. And we're going to have this kind of off to the side. So see, I think it would be real easy to put some leaves down there that have fallen off your branches. Now, aspens are white. The bark is white and black. So we're going to need, and I want to put some shading behind the trees with the oranges and yellows. So we're going to need to use the masking paper that Maureen showed you. And I do love the way she said, you know, to reuse your paper, because it is, well, it's not very expensive, but it makes sense to reuse your paper. But for these are so tiny that they tend to kind of not, even though, you know, we'll pat them on our clothes, but they tend to rip. So you'll have to keep that in mind. Now, I've already stamped some on some masking and cut it out already, so you don't have to watch me cut that. But I want to give you a hint. When you stamp it on your masking paper, and you're going to use it to mask these tree trunks, you're going to want to cut the inside line of the tree, because if you don't, you're going to get a white shadow around. So see, cut that off. Otherwise, you'll get a white shadow when you do your shading. And that's just, you don't want that. You don't want a white shadow around your tree trunk. You want the blending background to, you know, to go right up to the edge of your tree. So that's how we'll, and it, you know, you can always go back and cut it some more if you don't think you've cut it close enough. And for these, you're just going to have to pay attention to, when you get them cut out, is this the bottom or the top? But you can look at the marks on the birch, on the bark, and figure that out. So here's, I've already pre-cut several of these. And we'll look and see where this, and you can cut the branch off, because that's not going to, yeah, that's this one here. It's not going to make a difference for that solid black branch. So we'll pat this on our sweatshirt a little bit. Make sure we're got it on the right. Now see how you want that. You want your black border to be showing. We might get a little shadow there. We'll see. I'll pick up the next. We'll have to be careful not to have that. That one's going to go that way. Oops. See, I forgot to pat that on my sweater, on my sweatshirt. I can't find the seam there. Ah, there it is. If you stamp the wrong way and you don't have the seam, you can take a pick tool and pick it up from the edge of your paper. Gosh, this one does not want to come loose. So we'll try that. There we go. We'll hopefully make these a little easier to come up. I love my Take-A-Pick tool. So it was nice to get those helpful hints on how to use them. Now see how you're going to get that nice black border showing, we hope. And this will be our last one, won't it? It's nice to have a Saturday craft day, isn't it? It's fun for us too. Okay, we'll put all these little backings in the trash. And we're going to do some blending. I'm using all the tools that you've already learned about, so that's even better. So we're going to do Lemon Lolly. This is going to be sunset or sunrise, I guess, what I was going for. And well, you could do Maureen's trick and use your glass mat, but I tend to use these papers because I have them. We're going to try to layer as much on here as we can. I think that's probably pretty good. Now this is not a tool tip, But when I got this lemon lolly out last week, I could hardly, it's still open and shut it. It just was so tight. So you know what to do is get an old chapstick and run it on the sides, and it will loosen up that. It'll help it glide better. So now we're going to add some peach pie. Doesn't have to be a straight line. Just keep blending until you're happy with the way it looks. I think I'm just going to put a little bit up at the top too. And then we'll switch to pumpkin pie. You probably could use Timid Tiger. It's a color I forget that we have. And so I forget to use it. And now we'll add the pumpkin pie towards the bottom. I think that looks pretty good. Let's see, we might, try to blend that a little more. Okay, now we're ready to add some leaves. We're going to do a combination of some with the masking paper on there and then some without. So it gives it a little more variety. So we'll take the big one. I have no idea what's the top and what's the bottom of this stamp. I guess it's this. Look on the envelope and then you'll see how they're supposed to be. Okay, we'll add some, let's clean this off. We'll add some peach pie. It's not a big difference in color there, but it's just going to add a little dimension. And then we'll switch and do a little bit of lemon lolly. And I'm just going to use the smaller stamp for that. You can hardly see these, but again, it's going to give you a little dimension. And we'll see if we need to add some more when we take our paper off. And that came off very nicely. I bet this one that I forgot is not going to. It's a good idea if you have on a sweatshirt or blue jeans. Work really good for. That came out pretty good, didn't it? Now see, we didn't get a white shadow because we cut close in on those lines. Okay, I think I'm going to use the peach pie to add just a few leaves on top of the branches. Just yeah, I think that helps. There's our little fall scene. Super easy for a card. Now to make this card have a little more interest, I have layers, lots of layers. I do love layers on my cards. So we have a lemon lolly card base. It's 11 by 4, nope, 5.5 by 8.5. 8.5, is that right? And then we've got some peach pie. That's just 1/8 of an inch smaller. And we have a piece of basic white. It's 5.25 by 4. I think these would be pretty stamped with very vanilla also. But I do like the bright white. And then we have a piece of black, which is at 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. And then our image, it's 5 by, no, it's 4, no, it's 5 by 3 3/4. Can't read my own handwriting. I just think all the layers kind of make it special. Now we're going to do a sentiment using the Prayers and Promises set. I love good sentiments, and I'm always looking for good sympathy card sentiments. I don't know about you, that seems, or thinking of you. Those things we tend to need a lot. So we've got a piece of scrap white for our sentiment. And we're going to stamp the piece. I leave you with my peace. I can't even read upside this here. Peace I leave you, with my peace I give unto you. And I just thought that was a very nice sentiment. So we'll ink that with basic black. Or black memento, not basic black. tree trunks away. And we're going to punch it with, labeled with love. Right now, we seem to be short on punches. I don't like that, but we'll get more. And I'm going to punch this over off-centered. I think that's about right. And then we will punch a piece of basic black to create just a tiny hint of a shadow. Now there's lots of ways you can do punched pieces. Cut them in half and then use them as a big shadow. But on this one, I just want a touch. I don't really, you can't see that there, can you? I don't want a whole lot. So we're going to glue that on there. It's just barely a shadow on just the end. Now, if you want to have a shadow all the way around or a frame all the way around, I'll show you how we'll do that, how you can do that. Now, we're going to put this, we're going to cut it off. So we're only going to use this little bit. So I need to mark it here where we want to trim it. Get my paper trimmer. And we'll just probably have to use my scissors to get both pieces. I should have cut it back and forth, but I didn't. And then we'll put this on with dimensionals. I just think that little bit there looks nice. Ooh, I could have used the black dimensionals on this next time. Now, see, this is our simple card. I showed this to a friend, and she said, is there something wrong with you today? You don't have a bazillion die cuts and ribbons and bling? I said, no, we got simple today. But sometimes we need that. We need simple. Now, I already stamped the inside, but I will show you if I can find it. Here it is. So I just peeled off one of the branches or trunks and put it on another block and stamped the tree and then added the leaves and then my inside sentiment. Now, if it would make it too heavy, I would probably add a black around this, but I'm afraid the card's bordering on a little too heavy for the post office, and we don't want to pay for extra postage. But it's still pretty the way it is. Now, of course, we need a little bit of bling. Not too obnoxious, but we want some shimmer. So we're going to put, these are, oh, I have 2 cards. Strawberry Slush. It's called Strawberry Slush and Pretty in Pink. But this is actually more like clear with a tiny bit of gold flakes in it. And I just thought that would kind of look like little dewdrops, maybe. And it wouldn't be too glittery for a sympathy card, because I don't think sympathy cards need a lot of shiny stuff. And one more. Now, one thing I do sometimes when I'm not sure where I want my bling to go, I will use the small circle punch and just punch out some scrap paper and lay it on there to see where I want my bling to go, and then I can use that as, you know, how I decide where to put my bling. So I'm not always good at that. Now, in the catalog, they showed this card as a sample, and I think it's actually a little, it's not a super long card, but it's longer looking. And I wanted to make something similar to that, but I didn't want to have to make my own envelope or anything like that. So I just took a card, a regular card base, and then chopped off about 1/2 inch. So it gives it that narrower look. And then I just added Thinking of You and some bling. Now, I'll show you this trick here with a punch, because it helps keep your ribbon or your twine from moving around on your card. The other trick I did with this one, because it seemed to me that they kind of frayed that twine, I just took where's my take? Oh, here's the. I took my Take-A-Pick tool and I just wrapped the linen. I frayed the linen thread, and then I wrapped it around here, and I dabbed a little water on it. And by the time it got dry, then it was curly. And I thought that just gave it a little, a fun little touch. Frayed the edges with my paper snips. You can fray your edges with a thick emery board. Paper snips are nice and easy though. So that's one that and then this is one that I did totally different. I didn't do masking. I just went ahead and stamped directly on this paper. This is the Country Woods paper that looks like boards and all. And then I stamped on white, and I cut it apart and layered it on there with dimensionals. So it gives a nice little dimension to your card. So all of this is Country Woods paper in basic gray. This is, white, but then I used Pool Party to distress it, to blend the sky on there. So those are my sample, the one we made, and 2 other samples that I think are nice enough for a Thinking of You, sympathy card, whatever you need. So let's look at some punches here. So this one here, where I punched over on the side, is I took this punch. This is a trio punch. Is that, you get this one, a circle, and a punch that's like for making tags. And so, let me get a piece of paper. I'll use a piece of retired paper here. So to give you this notch to keep your ribbon from sliding around, I just came right up to the edge and punch, and now you have a nice little slot that you can put your ribbon in or your twine, and it will keep it from sliding around on your card. It's just, and it looks kind of fun, doesn't it, to see that. So that's one way you can use a punch. Using another one from that trio is this tiny, tiny little 1/8" circle. And I just poke 2 holes, and that way it keeps your ribbon a little more secure than using glue dots. If you can do that on your card, that makes it's helpful to keep your ribbon or twine from moving around on your card. And then I would use this too to decide where I want bling. I'd put it in, punch it in a different color. Okay, let's see. Oh, this, you've probably seen this before, but we'll have a reminder. This is a 3" square, and this is our newest punch. I haven't put the name on it yet, but it cuts a pretty little label. But if you want a square or something that you can put your sentiment on top of, you can use this and get some nice decorative corners. You remember when we used to have corner punches? Well, we still do. So you're going to slide this in the space here. Make sure you line it up the same on both sides, as close as you can. And then you can do all 4 corners. The hardest part is figuring out where to slide that. And then when you could put, like, this is a 3" square, so you could put 2 1/4 inch for your sentiment on the inside. Have a nice little frame. Get all those scraps out of there for your focal point. Now, any of our stamps, punches that have an interesting corner or edge will work the same way. You just slide it under there. See, like this one, you could slide under and get a nice rounded corner on your hexagon. Okay, let's look at this one. This is the modern oval, and I like that it just punches a nice oval. But if you want your oval longer, then you're going to do the same thing. But you're just going to slide that in there. You want to make sure it's straight. And you can have your oval be any length that you want. And it's the same punch. Now, if you don't have the oval punch and you want an oval, then you have an easy way to get one. So let's see. I think this will work. I bet most everybody has a circle. So you're going to take your circle punch and slide this in there. Try to make sure it's equal, top and bottom. Now, of course, your oval can be whatever length you want. And now you have an oval that you didn't have in case you didn't own the modern oval punch. Now, I was playing with the happy labels, and I realized how pretty is that to do a 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch, and then the 1/2 inch, and make your label layered. And I just thought that's kind of pretty. So give that a try. Now, I think you probably know this little trick here, but we'll try it and see. If you want to use the label punch, the happy labels, and you're not real sure where to stamp it and punch it and all of that, so you go ahead and stamp your sentiment. Know that it's going to take a little bit off of the end here. So we'll slide that in there. Try to, if you have it in the groove, it's going to go where you want it. Now you need to save this piece here, because this is where you'll figure out where to cut your edge off so that it'll be the same. So lay that on there. Go ahead and put a pencil line, and then we'll know to trim that up with our paper trimmer. Usually what happens, I lose that little piece, or it goes flying across the room. And now when we put this in here, make sure it's lined up. It should be close to matching without having to worry about centering your sentiment. So now you can throw your little edges away. So I'm sure there's even more ways that you know to use punches. And I thought I'd share some of my favorites with you today. All right, thanks for joining us today. Don't forget, if you want to have the inspiration sheet and directions and measurements to place an order with your demonstrator, and look for Chrissy. She will be on at the top of the hour. And then Maureen will come back with some wrap-up messages and things, housekeeping. Is that what they call it? Housekeeping messages. So I hope you enjoyed my totally flat, unembellished cards, just small embellishments, but I love them. So I hope you were inspired to try to use this stamp set for some easy peasy cards. Thanks for joining us on your Saturday. Bye.